Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyil kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'een. Welcome back to Fundamentals of Islamic Parenting, where today we are going to take a look at the importance of shaping your home environment into the kind of environment where your children can thrive. And this is again not a long presentation, but it's a very important topic. It's one of those fundamentals that, if we get it right, it has long term beneficial effects on our children. And if we mess it up, then we're always going to be fighting an uphill battle against certain elements in the environment when trying to raise our children. So it's very important that from the beginning we strive to create a home environment that is conducive to raising righteous worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the previous video we spoke about how when your children are very young, one of their primary needs is a safe, fun, and loving environment. And that needs to be maintained. That safe, loving, fun environment needs to be maintained for the child's entire life with you, right until they leave the home. Because it is only in a good environment that a child will truly thrive. If the environment at home is messed up, it has a lot of negative psychological effects on the child. It makes it difficult for them to do well at school. It makes it difficult for them to make friends. It may turn them into bullies. It may put them off marriage. It may make them people who are, violent. There's a lot of problems that would come, and especially if this is forced on them religiously, a lot of negativity is forced on them religiously, it may turn them against the religion itself. So one has to be very careful about how you shape the home environment. And on that topic, there are three important considerations to keep in mind before we jump into what are the core qualities of a home environment. But you need to understand that your environment shapes who you are, right? This isn't just for children, this is for everybody. Even for yourself, even for your spouse, even your workplace. The environment shapes who you are. The people you spend time around, the culture you spend time around, the overall atmosphere that you are in most of the time, it has an impact on who you are. And if this is the case with adults, it's even more with children, especially during the early years. So it is the parents' job to ensure that at least the home environment is optimal. Now there's multiple levels to this. At the very least, at the minimum, you should focus on ensuring that the home environment is optimal. You don't have any control about what's outside your home, right? So at the very least, you should do your best to ensure your home environment is one in which there is love, there is laughter, there is joy, there is Islam, there is safety. All of this is there in the home environment. If you can extend this outwards more and more, even better. Because the reality is the home environment is not the only environment that will have an impact on your child. The neighborhood. Who are your neighbors? Who are your neighbors' children? Is there crime in the neighborhood? Is there a lot of gunshots? Is there gangsterism? Is there what kind of neighborhood are you living in? This has an impact on your child. The country that you live in, right? Are you living in a country that is Islamic? If it's not Islamic, is it predominantly Muslim? If it's not predominantly Muslim, do you have freedom of religion? If you don't have freedom of religion, how are you making up for that, and how are you going to raise your children? And can you find a better place to live? So as far as possible, you need to focus on all of this, right? And this means making very difficult decisions. For some parents, it may mean making hijrah. It may mean moving from one country to another just so that your children grow up in a better environment. And I know of many families who migrated from Europe to Malaysia or Turkey or Qatar just so their child could grow up in a better Islamic environment. They made that huge sacrifice of uprooting their family from the only land they knew and moving to a foreign land where they would be outsiders and where they don't even know the culture of the people yet. But they did that so that their children would be in a better Islamic environment, even if it meant losing some of the luxuries of the dunya. Now, not everyone can do that. Not everyone can move out of their countries, right? Everyone has their own trials and their own limitations and restrictions based on their qadr, on their destiny. But within your country, can you find a better city to live in? Within your city, can you find a better neighborhood to live in? All of this matters, and each of us have control over something. At the very least, we may have control over which neighborhood we choose to live in. So you want to choose a neighborhood with a good masjid, good Islamic programs for youth and children, a neighborhood where the crime is less or there's no crime at all, a neighborhood where it's more peaceful and quiet. You have control over this to some extent. But if you don't have control even over this, at the very minimum, you have control over your home. At the very minimum, you have control over what life is like within the four walls of your home. And here you can thrive. And really, if you take this seriously, you can make up for all the external negative environments surrounding your home. Because they are Muslim homes in the worst of places. Whether it's the most un-Islamic, atheistic of lands or the most impoverished of war zones. They are Muslim homes in these type of lands where once the child is at home, they are at peace. Because their parents have made that home a sanctuary for them. It's a place that is peaceful, it is loving, it is a place to look forward to being, and it kind of isolates them from the outside world to an extent and gives them that break from all the chaos going on around them. It is possible, wherever you are in the world, to make your home a good environment. But if you can extend that outwards and have a good neighborhood, even better. A good city, even better. A good country, even better. Right? But again, each of us have limited resources and limited control. At the very least, you should focus on making your home the environment that you want it to be. So what exactly is a good home environment? What should we focus on if we want our homes to be a place where our children can thrive? There are many things we can focus on. I'm just going to give a few, 10 of the most basic, 10 that I think are most crucial. That if we get these 10 right, then everything else is secondary, right? So just very briefly, a good Muslim home should be loving, safe, Islamic, fun, peaceful, friendly, clean, healthy, educational, and disciplined. These 10 are crucial. There may be other things that are important to you. There may be other things that I may have overlooked, but these 10 are crucial. So let's go through them one by one. We already discussed in the previous slide the importance of a home environment being loving and safe. But let's go over that one more time, right? We did this in the previous lesson on the early years. The home environment being loving. Mom and dad both need to ensure that their home is a place of love. And this is really what a home is meant to be, right? When Allah describes marriage, He says, "Litaskunu," right? To find peace, to find that sakina, to find that peace within it, right? And the sakina comes from love. Allah describes marriage as mawadda, it's loving. That the way it's meant to be is, the home is the place where the family finds peace, where the family feels loved, where the family feels safe. And this is for every member of the family. Now historically, mom would play the majority of the role in ensuring the home is a loving environment, right? Of course, if you are in a family where mom and dad both have to work, then uh, this makes it a bit more difficult. But still, moms generally would take the lead here for the simple reason that women are more loving than men. Right? This is just a fact of life. Women are more loving than men. So they know better than men how to make an environment a loving environment. It doesn't mean the men don't play their role. They must. A father should be loving to his children. He should be loving to his wife. He should make sure that, you know, that he is affectionate when he's at home. That when he comes home, he hugs his children and he kisses them and he spends quality time with them. They should get this from both mom and dad. But mom's going to take the lead in this area, right? Because it is the woman's nature to be more loving, right? A lot of people talk about how women are more emotional than men. And I say that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you get good emotions as well. Love is a good emotion. And if women are more emotional than men, well, women are more loving than men. Women love a lot more fiercely than men do, right? Men cannot understand how women love. It's just on a completely different level, right? And even the Sharia recognizes this. Like when a man's wife passes away, there's technically nothing wrong with him getting married the next day, right? But if a woman's husband passes away, there's the 4 months and 10 days iddah, right? And a lot of it is to do with her just working through those emotions because of how much she loved him. So yes, women do love stronger than men do, and this is an asset in making your home a loving environment. You're the one who's going to spend more time thinking about what can I do to make sure everyone in my home feels loved, right? It's a thought that would occupy your mind more, because a woman's mind is more inclined towards expressing love. The second point falls more on the man, right? So just as the mother is more loving, it is the father who is qawwam, who is the protector of the family. As the protector of the family, it falls on him to ensure that the home is a safe environment. It is a place where his wife and children feel safe, not just from him, but from all the outside elements of the world. And mom also plays a role here. Obviously, she shouldn't be abusing the children either, right? Obviously, that goes without saying. I'm not even talking in this course about child abuse, because it should go without saying that neither mom or dad should be abusing their children, right? Because we're talking about having a good Muslim home, right? It's a place where everyone feels safe. But mom also plays a role in ensuring, that the babies aren't touching anything they shouldn't touch, that the kids aren't trying anything too dangerous. I mean, she's the one who has an eye on the kids when dad's at work, right? But fathers, as qawwam, as the protectors of their family, fathers need to put a lot of thought into where they live and the security of their homes to ensure that their family is safe. And of course, if you live in a country where there's general safety, you won't have to think about this too much. But if you live in a country like where I live, where crime rates are very high, then this is something you need to put a lot of thought into as a man. Do my wife and kids feel safe at home? Do they feel safe at home when I'm not there? Right? If that means investing in security, moving to a better neighborhood, moving to a gated community, whatever it takes, getting better neighbors, or a place where you have better neighbors, whatever it is, you need to do as the man what is necessary to ensure your family feels safe. It shouldn't be only when you are at home they feel safe. They should feel safe even when you are at work. And that usually means making very important decisions about where you live and the kind of security that you invest in. The third condition, which goes without saying as Muslims, is that our homes should be Islamic environments. Now here, I see Muslims going to two extremes. One extreme is just completely ignoring Islam altogether. Like the madrasa will teach that to my kids. In my home, we're just having fun, right? Completely ignoring Islam. If Islam is not practiced in your home, your children will not take it seriously. They will just see it as a culture, they'll just see it as something optional, they'll see it as something that mom and dad don't even take seriously. You have to take it seriously if you want them to take it seriously. The other extreme is being a bit too harsh and hardcore in how you implement Islam on children. So, the way you teach Islam to children, it needs to be fun. It needs to be about making them fall in love with Islam. It needs to be about building within them a confidence in Islam, building within them a love of Islam, building within them a conviction of Islam. A lot of parents make the mistake of just forcing the laws on their children and nothing else. So that child Islam becomes nothing more than a list of do's and don'ts that they absolutely do not understand. And if your way of making your home Islamic is just enforcing do's and don'ts without any explanation, without any tarbiyah, without any education, without any attachment to the religion, it's just don't do this, do that. What will happen in the long run is once your kids leave home, they'll stop practicing because you didn't work on the basics, right? Going back to this book that I mentioned in the first video, Nurturing Iman in Children by my late teacher, Dr. Ismail Kamdar, may Allah have mercy on her soul. In this book, she explains the importance of instilling in that child's heart a love of Allah and a love of this religion, and starting your Islamic education of that child from a point of love and conviction, not from a point of just do this and follow what I tell you to do. So you need to be careful about what you consider an Islamic home environment. Because a lot of young, overzealous parents, they go overboard, right? They expect their child by the age of 9 to be Hafiz al-Quran and memorize Bukhari and praying tahajjud and having no faults whatsoever. That's unrealistic, and that's not human, and that's highly unlikely. Unless Allah has really gifted you with a wali for your child, with a saint of a child, it's highly unlikely that you're going to accomplish anywhere close to that. Spirituality, growing close to Allah, is a lifelong journey. Your child's never going to be perfect, just like you are never perfect. We all have our slip-ups and our sins and our mistakes and our weaknesses and our faults. And your child is going to be the same. Right? If anything, he'll have more slip-ups and weaknesses and faults than you because he's younger than you. He's less experienced than you. He has less wisdom than you. So he needs to learn more than you. So you can't have unrealistic expectations. So what then would be an Islamic environment that's balanced? An Islamic environment that's balanced would be an environment where mom and dad pray 5 times a day. Mom observes hijab. Mom and dad talk about Islam, right? Full of enthusiasm and excitement. It's a topic that brings them to life. It's a topic that makes them excited. You know, you always see mom and dad watching Islamic videos on YouTube, right? That's normal. You can hear Quran or Nasheed playing in the background when you're at home. You know, the Islamic programs, and if they're small, like Islamic cartoons or games on the TV. You know, it's all about making Islam normal and natural in your home. Not forcing it just as do this, don't do that. It's about making it a normal part of the home. That this is an Islamic home. You know, there's Islam everywhere. And this is the normal way to be, and this makes us happy, and this gives us inner peace, and this gives us purpose. And the children need to see that. Most important thing about making your home an Islamic environment is being a role model to your children. Because if your children see you as someone who doesn't take Islam seriously and doesn't practice Islam, but you're trying to force it on them, then they're not going to take it seriously either. The fourth quality of a good Muslim home is that it is a fun place to live. Right? It's a place where the children build most of their memories. 20, 30, 40 years from now, you want your child to be thinking back to their childhood and saying, I miss that. I had a lot of fun growing up in that house. That was a nice home. And again, some people go to two extremes. They're exactly the same with the previous point. Either they have unrestricted fun for their children, even if it's haram, that's a problem. Or the other extreme is that they think raising righteous children means that they need to be just memorizing Quran and doing Islamic stuff all day long, and there's no time for fun. Allah didn't create you to have fun, right? So they have this ultra strict approach to raising their children where there's no room for fun. If you do that, you're going to break the child. If you do that, the child's going to rebel. You have to cater for the fact that your child is a child and they need to have halal fun. Now, whatever types of halal fun you choose to be in your home, that's up to you, right? Every home is different, every family is different. I know people have different philosophies on what's, also different fiqh opinions on what's halal and what's not. But there needs to be something, right? Whether your child's playing video games or watching Islamic programs on their laptop, or you're playing board games, or they're doing sports, or they're doing art, or whatever it is. Make sure that it's healthy and it's halal and it doesn't brainwash them with wrong ideas, and that it's something fun that they can do to engage with that child side of theirs. Children grow through playing. They learn through playing. They develop their ideas and thoughts through playing. Playing is an important part of childhood, right throughout, not just when they're small, right throughout. It's a very important part of childhood. A lot of people with misunderstandings of Islam think that there's no room in Islam for having fun. And this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his time the children would play. And he would let them play. He didn't ever stop children from playing with each other. He would understood, if they are kids, the kids are going to play. That's what kids do. So if you're going to be ultra strict and not let your kids do anything for fun, you are going to break that child's soul. And that child's probably going to rebel, and they're going to do fun things that aren't even halal behind your back. Have a controlled environment where there are halal sources of fun that you approve of. And yes, there are different fiqh opinions, so it may be that I approve of something that you don't. You don't have to follow mine, right? You choose based on the fiqh opinions that you follow. The next point is that your home needs to be peaceful. Right? Again, sakina, peaceful. It's a maskan, it's a place of peace. Right? A home in Islam is meant to be the place of peace, your source of sakina. That's what a home is meant to be, a source of sakina. When you come home from work, you want your home to be the place where you can relax and forget about your problems and just have some halal fun. When your children come home from school, you want to be the place where they can relax and forget about their problems and have halal fun. You want your home to be that place that people look forward to going to. That even your friends or your neighbors, they like your home because it gives them a sense of peace. There's something peaceful about that environment. There's no shouting, there's no screaming at each other, there's no fighting over silly things. You try your best to be peaceful. And yes, we're human. There will be days where you slip up, or your spouse slips up, or you lose your temper, or your spouse loses your temper. You forgive each other and move on. Overall, that shouldn't be the day-to-day interactions in your home. You should strive for your home to be a place of peace. And our house, you want to fight, go somewhere else, right? But not in this house, because you need to maintain that peace. If your home loses that peace, then your spouse won't want to come home. Your children won't want to be at home. I found in some cases where children left home as early as possible, very often it's because they couldn't find peace at home. They just wanted peace. And as soon as they were able to move out, they moved out because they just couldn't handle the drama and the shouting and the fighting at home. It's very important for your children's development that they know that their home is a peaceful place. And linked to being a peaceful place, it's a friendly place. People smile, people laugh, people joke, people enjoy each other's company, they enjoy conversations with each other. This is how a home should be. And I'm really surprised that when I visit other homes and I don't see this. When I visit some families and I just see children sitting completely stressed out worried about even smiling or making a joke because their father will shout them. Like, what is this? This is not the Islamic way to raise your children. This is not the natural way to raise your children. Let them enjoy life at home. You're supposed to be friendly at home. You're supposed to be able to laugh and joke and have, light-hearted conversations when you're with your family. It shouldn't be a place where everyone is terrified to even smile. How is that Islamic? So be very conscious of this, that is my home a place where it's full of laughter? You know your home is peaceful when there's no shouting, there's no drama. You know your home is friendly when people can hear laughter coming from your home quite often. Because everyone's always, enjoying each other's company. That your children enjoy each other's company and they enjoy the company of the parents. And the parents enjoy the company of the children. It's possible. Alhamdulillah, that's how my home is, and I know many other people like that. But it's something you have to consciously strive for as a parent. That this is an environment where you can enjoy yourself in a halal way. Because this is your home. The next important point is that a home should be clean. Now this should go without saying, right? Tahara is part of Iman, and our religion is a religion that highly emphasizes cleanliness. But you'll be surprised these days how many people let cleanliness go. Now given if you have small children in the house, it's impossible to keep it 100% clean, right? We have small children running around and vomiting and knocking things off the shelf and leaving the toys everywhere, and it's never going to be 100% clean. But you should have some standard that you hold yourself to. You shouldn't just let it go completely, because if your home is not clean, then it's going to attract germs, and those germs are going to make your children sick. It's going to affect their growth, it's going to affect their development, it's going to affect their bodies, it's going to affect their brains. So there should be some standard that you hold yourself to. That the dishes are washed at a certain time, that clothes are cleaned the clothes are washed on time, that as your children get older, you teach them to put their toys away, you teach them to keep their beds neat. Now maybe when that's really small, you can't control that, but as they get older, you should teach them to clean up after themselves, to take care of their home environment. And this is something very important to learn from a young age. It's very important from a young age to learn to keep your environment clean, to take pride in your environment. It's something you should teach your children as well. That they should make their beds because they want their beds to look neat. They should pick up their toys because they want their room to be clean. Right? It's not going to come quickly, it's not going to come easily. You have to reinforce this over and over again. But cleanliness is something that's very important. And yes, when you have little ones, you have to let go a bit. When you have little ones, there are some things you're just going to have to live around, like the fact that there's toys all over the floor, or they took out your books and just threw them on the floor. Things are never going to be 100%. But as they get older, you're going to teach them to clean up after themselves. And even when they are small, there are certain standards you must maintain to make sure that bacteria and germs are kept out of your home, and that there is some level of pride in how the home looks. And linked to cleanliness is health. A home should be a healthy environment. And health comes from a variety of ways. It comes from ensuring your children are doing physical activities so they don't become obese. You don't want your children to become obese, right? This is not good. An obese child is in danger of dying at a very young age. You need to make sure your children are taking care of their bodies. Not saying everybody should have a perfect figure, but at least some level of care in terms of their physical activities and the health of their bodies. Another important part of having a home environment is home cooked meals. And again, it goes back to the point I mentioned before. A lot of ladies these days don't want to cook. They say, where does it come in the Quran or in the Hadith that I must cook? Why can't we just buy food every day? And my response to that is that buying food every day is not healthy. It's not healthy. Home cooked meals are a lot healthier. And they're more loving, and they're better memories, and they're more fun, and they're cleaner. Right? Because let's face it, there are hygiene issues with eating out. Not all takeaways and restaurants hold themselves to the same standards of hygiene as we do. There's the healthiness of the ingredients that you use. home cooked meals tend to use fresher, more wholesome ingredients than the food that we buy out. So don't worry about the fiqh of whether cooking for your family is obligatory or not. Think about the optimal home environment you're trying to build. You want your home to be clean, healthy, loving, fun, safe, memorable. One of the best things you can do is to ensure that at least most days you have home cooked meals, fresh, healthy food. And yes, sometimes eating out is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not sinful. But if you're gonna do that every single day, if your kids are just growing up on burgers and fried chicken, then that's not good for their health, right? Home cooked meals are an important part of being healthy. Another important part of being healthy, ensuring your children get enough sleep. This is where having a bedtime comes in. It's important for children to have a bedtime and a time for waking up. Children need 8 to 10 hours of sleep every day. A lot of children today are not getting enough sleep, and this hinders their growth. This hinders the growth of their minds and their bodies. Make sure your children are getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep every day. This is important for their health. And you do this by setting a bedtime and being strict about bedtime and being strict about waking up on time. Obviously, you're not going to do this with babies, but as they get old enough to understand what a bedtime is, you need to maintain it. And the bedtime may shift as they get older. So maybe it's 8 p.m. when they're 5 years old, and 9 p.m. when they're 9 years old, and 10 p.m. when they're teenagers. Whatever it is, but there should be enough hours for them to get a healthy amount of sleep. It's also important what kind of snacks you keep in your home. Children love to snack, especially teenagers. If your home is full of sugary, junk food type of snacks, this is not healthy. But if you have fruit and you have healthy juices and you have other kinds of healthy snacks in your home, then this will help your children to grow. Now, I'm not saying your children should never eat sugary things. I'm not saying, again, don't go to extremes, but that should be a treat, a once in a while treat for being good, for obeying the rules because it's weekend or something. It shouldn't be every day they're stuffing themselves with sugary things. That's not healthy. Once a week, or maybe one small piece of chocolate a day, that's fine. But that shouldn't be uncontrolled. It should be controlled, right, for the sake of their health. It's very important to maintain healthiness in the home. And not just for your kids, for your own self and your spouse as well. It's very important that we all stay healthy, right? The Prophet ﷺ said, وَلِبَدَنِكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقٌّ. Your body has rights over you. And part of the rights of the body is that you keep it healthy. And that includes what you eat, what you drink, how much you sleep, doing physical activities, and in terms of husband and wife, being intimate as well. All of that is important for your health. The next important quality of a Muslim home is that it is educational. It is a place where children are constantly learning and growing. Now, this doesn't mean that your house is a classroom where your kids are sitting and just studying at a desk all day, but it should be an environment in which learning takes place. And learning can be done in a variety of ways. It can be learning through playing, learning through games, learning through edutainment, educational videos and TV, whether it's documentaries or Islamic programs. It can be learning through reading books on their own, or just learning through conversation, where conversations with mom and dad are beneficial, where you just sit around with your kids and talk, and talking with your kids ends up being something that they benefit from. But your home should be an educational environment. One of the ways to do this, you should have a home library. You should have a home library with age-appropriate books that your kids can pick up on their own and study on their own. And you should have also library of videos, of approved videos for them to watch, where they can learn things, whether it's about nature, whether it's about science, whether it's about Islam, but you should have approved educational videos in your home that they can watch to learn from, right? So having a home library is important. Having good conversations with your children is important. Pushing them to be the kind of people who are always learning and growing is important. And finally, every home needs to be disciplined. If there's no discipline in the home, the children will rule the house. If there's no discipline in the home, the children will rule the house. Children will get away with as much as you allow them to. If there's no bedtime, they are not going to sleep until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. You have to have a bedtime. If there's no rules around video games, they're just gonna play video games all day. You have to have some kind of rules, some kind of standards, right? It's very important that you have a disciplined environment. Discipline doesn't mean you're like ultra strict and you slap them and you don't allow them to do anything fun. No, that's not what we mean by discipline. By discipline, we mean there are rules that are beneficial to them, like having a bedtime, a time for waking up, time for studying, time for playing. But it also means that there are consequences for violating the rules, right? Like if you don't go to bed on time, you can't play video games tomorrow. Oh, you didn't do your school work for this week, I'm going to deduct from your allowance. There needs to be some rules and there needs to be some consequences. It doesn't have to be violent. I know in many cultures today that's frowned upon, although it's not technically haram, right? It's not technically haram to hit a child if they are out of line. It's not. In fact, there are many hadiths you can use to say that it's halal, and it's something that the Sahaba themselves did. But I know that based on cultures, that in some cultures it's not a good thing, in other cultures it's normal. So if you're in a culture where hitting a child isn't the normal way of disciplining and you feel it may bring about more harm than good, there are other ways to discipline a child. You can discipline a child through deducting their allowance. You can discipline a child through grounding them or taking away privileges or giving them additional chores, right? Making them sit and think about what they did. There's many ways to do it. But the point is you must have rules and you must enforce those rules. And those rules should be built around what is best for the child. It shouldn't just be rules for the sake of having rules. It should be built around what is best for the child. And you should explain it to them. Like the bedtime, you should explain to the kids, this is your bedtime and this is what time you wake up for school. And the reason you have this bedtime is that your body needs this amount of sleep to be healthy. Explain it to them. It's that simple, right? There's a genuine reason why you're being disciplined, right? If the rule is they only allowed 2 hours of video games a day or they only allowed video games on weekends, explain to them why. Explain to them the harms of addiction and only being in front of a screen all day. Let them understand that your rules aren't coming from randomness or from spite. It's coming out of love and wanting what is best for them. And this will go a long way to ensuring that they actually follow the rules. So these are 10 qualities that I believe every Muslim home should have. And I believe if we apply these 10 things, anything else that I may have overlooked or forgotten or did not cross my mind can be built upon it. But this is the essentials. These are the essentials for ensuring that your home is an environment in which your children can thrive. If a child is in an environment that is loving, safe, Islamic, fun, peaceful, friendly, clean, healthy, a source of education, and is disciplined, they will thrive and they will grow into the best versions of themselves. I'll end off this presentation with 4 fundamental considerations for developing your home environment. Number 1, prioritize your marriage, because this will have a lasting impact on your children. If you are not prioritizing your marriage, you're going to drift away from your spouse. You may start to get irritated with your spouse. You may start to fight in front of the children. You may end up in divorce. None of these things are good for your kids. All of these things can quite badly interfere with having that peaceful, loving environment that you're trying to build for your children. Your marriage matters to your children. If children grow up in a home where mom and dad love each other and care for each other and they are each other's source of peace, then those children grow up feeling loved, feeling at peace, and with a good idea of what marriage is, and with a healthy attitude towards marriage. So your marriage matters for your home environment. If you and your spouse are going to be screaming and shouting at each other in front of the children every day, you can't have a peaceful home. So do not neglect your marriage. Take care of your spouse's emotional needs, take care of your spouse's intimate needs, take care of your spouse's, whatever other needs they have. But ensure that you're not neglecting your spouse. That these are now 2 separate relationships that you need to learn to juggle. You need to learn how to be a wife and a mom, how to be a husband and a father. And you'll figure it out. Everyone does eventually, if they are committed to it. But you have to prioritize this. Otherwise, you will not have a good home environment if mom and dad are not on the same page. Number two, ensure that you have rules. A home should have rules. Specifically, when your children are between the ages of 5 and 15, it is very important to have rules. If they're younger than 5 years old, they're little kids, right? You want to let them run, play, have fun, enjoy life. They're just little babies. Let them enjoy it. And technically, once they pass the age of 15, they are young adults in the sight of Allah, and they are responsible for their own deeds. And you want them to grow into adults, and you want them to become responsible and independent. So you're going to have to lighten up on the rules and not treat them like little children anymore. If someone's older than the age of 15 and you treat them like a little child, this could cause them to rebel or to be stuck in perpetual childhood for life. You have to start treating them as young adults once they pass the age of 15. So really, this issue of setting and maintaining rules in your home is most important between the ages of 5 and 15. For that 10-year period, your house should operate in the most disciplined way possible. Strict bedtimes, strict gadget times, strict rules about going out with their friends. Now, once they pass the age of 15, you're still going to have these rules as long as they're living under your home, but it won't be as strict. So if your 5-year-old's bedtime is 8 p.m., your 16-year-old's bedtime might be 10 or 11 p.m. So you're still going to have a rule, but it's not going to be as strict because they're in a completely different age group. They're young adults. They need a bit more space. They need a bit more time. They need a bit more independence, right? You're not going to let your 7-year-old be out by himself on the weekends. Your 16 or 17-year-old, they should be getting used to being out as long as they're in good company and doing something halal. They should be fine with them being out on the weekends. But again, you still have to have rules. Where you're going, who you're going with, what are y'all doing, what time. So there should still be rules. It just wouldn't be as strict as it would be with a 7 or 8-year-old. So keep this in mind when setting rules for your home. Understand that different age groups work differently. For children between the ages of 5 and 15, especially between 5 and 12, rules are like the most important thing to help them grow. Like if there's no rules at that age, it's chaos. They are all over the place and they can develop very bad habits. But if there's some rules in place that they are following at that age, then this will benefit them for life. It will build good habits in them for life. On the other hand, when they are in their teens and they are young adults in the sight of Allah and you are too strict on them, they will rebel. But if you treat them as young adults and give them some responsibility, give them some independence, while still having moderate rules in place, then inshallah things may be a bit smoother. The third consideration, this one's related to the educational side of things, is ensure you have a home library and a variety of educational resources around the home. Take time to invest in this. Get some bookshelves, go to the Islamic bookstore, buy some children's books, download some videos, educational videos on Islam and nature and science for your children that's age appropriate, and give them access to these libraries. Because honestly, a child who has a love of learning is going to learn a lot more on their own from their home library than they are going to learn at school. Now, most children don't learn at school. They just memorize for the exams and forget afterwards. But that home library, those educational sources at home that they are interacting with because they are curious and interested, that's where they're really going to learn. That's going to be one of the primary sources of self-education. And it's going to build a good habit in them because then when they grow up, they will have these habits of reading books and watching educational videos. And finally, most important, be their role model. Be their role model. Be the kind of person you want them to grow into. If mom and dad don't practice Islam, the kids won't practice Islam. If mom and dad don't have a good marriage, the kids are going to have a bad impression of what marriage is. If mom and dad are screaming and shouting at each other at home, your kids are going to be screaming and shouting at each other all the time as well. You need to be their role models. And you need to ensure that you are modeling the rules and patterns that you want for them. Think of the kind of person you want your child to grow up to be, and just be that person. Just be that person that you want them to grow up to be. So they have a model of how to get there. So I hope you found this presentation beneficial. I'll see you in the next video. Jazakallah khairan wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.